How would you describe the energy of the officers that pulled over Tyre Nichols?
On a scale of 1 to 10, they were at a 10.
Is that not police protocol?
No, it's not police protocol. I've been in this business for 36 years, and a lot of the aggression and, the approach was over the top.
The Memphis police chief telling NBC News her officers' actions were at a 10. And police chiefs across the country are saying the actions were unconscionable, unethical, and inconsistent with police training. Here now to discuss, Tracy Kazi, president of the Center for Policing Equity. She was on the force for 25 years. And Joanna Schwartz, UCLA law professor and author of Shielded, How the Police Became Untouchable. Tracy, officers know they're being recorded by their own body cameras. Can you explain why this still happens?
The body cameras were originally designed to hopefully bring more transparency. And what happens is officers get used to it. You get used to having it on your body. And so once you get used to it, you continue to move and do the things that you normally would do. And so, as we see the horrific video from the last event, it's one of those things where you often wonder, and you do ask yourself, what are you thinking? And what do you think is going to happen when someone sees this video? And I think what's also interesting about not just the body-worn camera is that there's also, poll cams. So the city itself has its own cameras that's placed throughout, Memphis. And without the videotape from that particular camera, I don't think we would have seen what we have seen.
Joanna, what do you think?
I agree. I also, having watched some of that video, get the impression that the officers on the scene were not aware or of the belief that they had done something wrong. They are joking with each other. They are talking with each other. And I agree. It's possible that they have forgotten that the video camera, the body cameras are on. They may also, in that moment, before they knew the extent of the damage that they had caused, believed that what they had done was not out of line.
Really? I'm just so gobsmacked.
Yeah.
He was being brutally beaten. He's pleading in despair for his mother, and they thought, well, this is what an officer does on a Tuesday.
The officers, you can see in the video, are standing around, talking to one another, joking with one another, for minutes and minutes and minutes after this occurred. There was no one saying, what have we done? There was no one saying, we've got to get our story straight. There was no one saying, this is an emergency. What we see when we look at that video is a lot of officers who seem like they've been amped up, and they're letting off steam and joking and laughing about what's happened.
Tracy, I just keep thinking, what is this like for you as someone who served in the force for 25 years, right? Police officers, these are the most respected people. When our children are little kids, it's the job they dream to have one day.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, not just for me, but probably for thousands of officers across the country, it's devastating. It's heartbreaking. Once again, here we are where we don't have trust in communities of color. And the interesting part of this, too, and I think for most folks who are watching, we're often surprised that all 5 of those officers were Black. And I can tell you, as a retired Black officer, it is just devastating, especially after decades of our own legitimacy being questioned and really trying to make sure that we are servants of the community, especially the communities where we come from. So just devastating, absolutely devastating. And not only that, you have to ask yourself, what are they thinking? What was going on? And I think that one of the questions that we're all waiting to hear is from these officers themselves, because we will not know until we have that conversation. And of course, that will take place when they go to trial. So there's just absolute devastation. And that's all officers, because once again, we are struggling to make sure that we can build relationships and keep those relationships with communities. So it's just heartbreaking to see.
Part of police culture is this idea of having each other's back, that thin blue line. Does that mentality sometimes lead to officers protecting one another when they shouldn't?
Of course it does. I mean, we watched it. If you saw the video and you heard the joking and you already heard sort of the excuses being thrown out about what happened and how the stop, engaged the way that it did. And that's the dangerous part of this, right? Because what we know in Memphis is they have a policy. They have a policy of de-escalation. They also have a policy to duty to intervene. And not one officer that was standing there did anything to intervene. And I think what is even more heartbreaking is watching how long it took for them to call for medical services. I mean, the time that went on as we're watching, this young man fall over time and time again, being propped up against that car, it is just sickening.
It certainly is. Tracy and Joanna, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it.